I'm going to call this meeting of the Silver City Planning and Zoning Commission for February 7th to order. And could you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Commissioner Seibel, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Clements? Here. Commissioner Seibel?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Peralt? Commissioner Lundy?
Here.
Commissioner Coast?
Thank you. I note that we do have a quorum. Our first order of business is the approval of the agenda. Have you all had a chance to take a look at it? Yes. Anyone have anything they would like to see removed from the agenda, or I will entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes and the agenda is approved. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes for January 3rd. Does anyone have any alterations or corrections to the minutes?
The only, I did have one, and that was, it's really minor. On the second page under reports from commission, my last name's spelled wrong.
Uh-oh, yes it
I
is.
don't know why it's spelled correctly everywhere else, but just that one place. That's the only thing I have.
Well, we'll make that correction, certainly. Any other corrections or additions? Then could I have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. I see we have no old business, but we do have two public hearings. And the first public hearing is entitled ZC 1106. It's a request for a map amendment zone change for attractive land addressed as 1412 North Bennett Street, Silver City, New Mexico. The request is to amend the official zoning map for that property, described as lots 6 and 8, block 267 of the Fraser Edition, from commercial district to mixed use district. And the applicant is Darlene Dawn Gray. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Okay, this commission will serve as a hearing board, and I, as the chairperson, will be the presiding officer. The case involves an application for a map amendment zone change. And has there been any ex parte communication on this matter? That being the case, would anyone who would like to testify in this matter please come forward and be sworn in? If you wish to testify, you must be sworn in. But if you're sworn in, it doesn't mean that you have to testify. But you can't speak unless you have taken the oath.
I state your name.
I, Peter Russell,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that the testimony I am about to give, to present,
that the testimony I'm about to present
is the true, whole truth, and nothing but the truth,
is the whole truth and nothing but the truth,
under penalty of perjury.
under penalty of perjury.
Thank you. Okay. Could we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. This evening, with the map amendment zone change request number ZZ 1106 at 1412 North Bennett Street, We are looking at another one of those spot zoning changes that we've discussed in the past, and it is from commercial, which is what the majority of the neighborhood is right now, and we're looking at changing that to mixed use. The subject property is here at 1412 Bennett, and just recently you passed several amendment changes. There are changes to the map here, and let's see, right down here. I think that was at two or three meetings ago. And in the past, we have looked at other changes prior to the 2010 land use code changes, and we changed from commercial to residential in those areas. We're looking at the whole neighborhood as a transition eventually to mixed use. Ms. Bennett asked us to take the application for her properties so that she could have a residential use for it. And the mixed use district is intended to accommodate a mix of small-scale commercial and residential uses and to provide a transition between commercial and surrounding residential neighborhoods. Reinvestment, limited expansion of existing residential and commercial buildings, and new mixed use, residential and commercial uses are encouraged within the mixed use zone. This is a picture of the block in which the applicant's property is located, and it is right there. This is from Bennett Street looking, or from 14th Street looking north on Bennett Street. You can see on the west side of the road it's primarily commercial. On the east side of the road it's primarily residential. This is a photograph of Ms. Gray's property, and you can see that it is being primarily used as residential, as are most of her neighbors on that side of the street. This property here is being used as Brocom Communications. This is the resident, and then her property at this point here. Her neighbor to the north is another residence. And if you were to change the zoning map, the findings required include when the Planning and Zoning Commission makes its recommendation to the Town Council, and when the Town Council makes the final decision, they shall, at a minimum, make at least one of the following findings. The proposed amendment is in substantial compliance or not in substantial compliance with the town's comprehensive plan. The proposed amendment will not adversely affect the implementation of the goals and policies of the town's comprehensive plan, or will it adversely affect the implementation of the goals and policies of the town's comprehensive plan. The proposed amendment is justified in order to correct a mistake in the town's comprehensive plan, an error in the assumptions about the property, surrounding uses, population forecast, rate of land consumption, or other factors. The proposed amendment will not adversely impact the public health, safety, or general welfare, and will promote the original purposes of the Land Use Code, or it will adversely impact the public health, safety, or general welfare and will not promote the original purposes of the Land Use Code. The proposed amendment responds to changed conditions, such as changes in assumptions on capital investments, road locations, population trends, land committed to development, density, use, or further studies that have been completed since adoption of the Land Use Code, or does not respond to changed conditions. The proposed amendment is necessary in order to respond to state and/or federal legislation. The proposed amendment provides additional flexibility in meeting the objectives of this Land Use Code without lowering the standards of the Land Use Code. The staff received no comments from neighbors, positive or negative, and from the report that the applicant gave us, they received no comments either. It is the staff opinion that the zone change may be approved, dependent upon your wishes, based on the following findings. The proposed amendment is in substantial compliance with the town's comprehensive plan. The proposed amendment will not adversely affect the implementation of the goals and policies of the town's comprehensive plan. The proposed amendment will not adversely impact the public health, safety, or general welfare and will promote the original purposes of the land use code, and the proposed amendment provides additional flexibility in meeting the objectives of this land use code without lowering the standards of it. Do you have any questions?
Do any of the commissioners have questions for staff? In that case, could we please hear from the applicant? Have you been fully instructed in your obligation to testify regarding at least one of these findings that we must find? Were you instructed that that's your responsibility?
Am I here? Okay, thank you. I didn't quite understand all of that. I didn't quite hear you.
I'm sorry. I said, have you been fully informed that it's your responsibility in your testimony to indicate evidence that would help us find at least one of these required findings?
Yeah, I think I have.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. I'm requesting this for a number of reasons, one of which I would prefer to have my property be within the conforming use. Right now it's a non-conforming use. There's a problem with getting loans on this property. I'd have to go for a commercial loan if I were to rebuild. If someone were to purchase it, they would have to go for a commercial loan. They would not be able to get residential loan for it. Okay, if indeed the structure was destroyed, which I don't think, I'm not thinking it will be, but I would have more flexibility in what could be built with the needs of the community in mind. If there were need for more residential or if the need for more commercial, that would be, I'd have that option in a mixed use. With regard to rebuilding, if the property was destroyed, I wouldn't be constrained by the 25% rule, which is, you know, when we rebuild. And I think it's more fair because I at one point owned a property that I took the house down on. I built within the 25% constraining rule in a different state, mind you. But the property next door to that was sold, and they built a mega mansion on it, and I couldn't see the fairness in it. So I don't know. Hopefully, if I touched on something here, is this about all I can think of?
Is it your testimony then that the proposed amendment will not adversely impact on the public health, safety, or general welfare?
No, it will not.
And that it will promote the original purposes of the land use code?
Yes, it will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant? Is there any discussion of this matter?
I got chewed on a few weeks ago by a member of the public who wanted to know why we were doing all these little zone changes instead of going in and just doing one big zone change with this new zone, particularly in an area now where we've done so many of them. And so I felt like I needed to bring that concern forward and ask staff what their feelings were about that. What kind of situation are we putting ourselves in as a commission by putting all these tiny little pockets of a new zone in an existing zone with the idea that we're going to go forward and do this big zone change? But suppose A, that never happens, or B, we try to do it and it gets shot down, and then we're stuck with this little jigsaw puzzle that we're building here.
I'd be happy to answer that, if I may,
Please do.
Madam Chair. We're responding to need coming from the community. People can't refinance their homes. They can't optimize the use of their property. In the past, however, when we put out notices about these requests, often people come in and say, well, this isn't going to affect my property, is it? I like my zoning. So we're trying to affect a need without doing something to somebody who hasn't asked for something to be done. We agree that it's ideal to try and do it at a larger scale, but the resources necessary to do it in an area that, say, has 100 homeowners who aren't seeking any change currently and are concerned about the effects of a change on there is much harder to accomplish and to manage. Given the resources that we have and the immediate needs that people have to refinance, we try to accommodate these as they come along within the larger confines of a concept. The concept here is that the area that this particular application comes from is an area that's been zoned commercial since 1965 or 4, whenever the zoning map was created, and has largely been residential, but has people who invest in it for commercial purposes. So this is a way forward that resolves immediate problems and meets our resources. We agree, however, that long-term, and by that I mean within the coming year, we would like to attempt to deal with this on a broader scale. And this is true not only for the mixed use, it's also true for the downtown historic commercial. It's true for, and we had no applications yet for the light commercial. We would like to move forward on all fronts.
Since this is largely an issue of resources, is there something that this commission can do to advocate for increased resources to cause this to happen in a more timely manner? Or
Sure. I would be happy to visit with you later to discuss particular ways to advocate for more resources to address this, or to have the council maybe identify some priorities.
I certainly share Commissioner Seibel's feelings on this, that it looks a lot like spot zoning. And it is a jigsaw puzzle we're creating, and I do have the same concerns about when is this map going to get redrawn. It would certainly reduce the workload for this commission if that issue went away, because it seems to me that an increasing proportion of our cases heard here are in regard to that issue. On the other hand, I strongly feel that if you look at this neighborhood, it is definitely a mixed-use neighborhood, and I think there's every justice in granting this homeowner her request to have her zoning changed to reflect that reality. But I'd be glad to meet with you later and talk about the resource issue and how we can convey our feelings to the town council.
Absolutely.
I feel good about this situation. And it's not unique, and we've dealt with it before. But the fact of the matter is, we don't live in a perfect world. And given the resources available and the situation we deal with, I feel we're being responsive to the needs of the community and the homeowners.
I agree.
So, all things considered, I feel good about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it certainly could be better.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to more fully address some of the problematic issues involved with a larger scale issue in our next hearing, in the next case that we have before us. But I also wanted to amend something I said earlier. We did have one response from a neighbor. It wasn't positive or negative, other than she'd like to see the whole neighborhood done. And that came through a letter from a neighbor, Miss Esther Grijalva, and who has been a resident there longer than there's been zoning. And she said she's seen the area go from totally residential to a few little commercials, and then it became a commercial zone when it was zoned. So I apologize to Ms. Grijalva for leaving her out of my original testimony.
Thank you for amending that.
Sure.
And I certainly share Ms. Grijalva's opinion of her neighborhood and about what we should do about that zoning issue. Is there further discussion? Can I hear a motion, including at least one of the required findings?
Is it okay for me to make a motion?
You could make a motion, Commissioner.
Okay, then I will move that we recommend to the Town Council the adoption of the map amendment zone change ZC 11-06 from commercial to mixed use for 1412 North Bennett Street in Silver City, with the following findings: that the proposed amendment is in substantial compliance with the town's comprehensive plan. The proposed amendment will not adversely affect the implementation of the goals and policies of the town's comprehensive plan. The proposed amendment will not adversely impact the public health, safety, or general welfare, and will promote the original purposes of the Land Use Code. And the proposed amendment provides additional flexibility in meeting the objectives of this Land Use Code without lowering the standards of the code.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? The motion carries, and we will make our recommendation to the Town Council in your behalf. You're very welcome. Okay, the second hearing on our agenda is entitled ZC 1107. This is a request for a map amendment zone change for a tract of land addressed as 503 Spring Street, Silver City, New Mexico, which is currently in 2 zoning districts. This is a really good one because the zoning map cuts it right in 2. The parcel is described as part of lots 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15 on Block 27 of the Fraser Addition. The request is to amend the official zoning map for that portion of the property within the commercial district to historic downtown commercial district, and that portion of the property in residential B district to historic downtown commercial district. The applicants are Robert and Marion Ryman. I understand that the applicants have a representative present. Is that correct, Mr. Ciano? Okay.
Real estate agent and their agent and their listing of their property.
Thank you.
Representing them.
Okay. Has there been any ex parte communication in this matter?
No.
I would like to disclose that I am well acquainted with the representative of the applicant. He has represented me as a real estate agent on 3 prior property transactions, the last being in 2003, and I haven't seen a lot of him since, but and I do not think that my acquaintance with him will in any way prejudice my findings in the case. But I did want to disclose that to you all.
Should I disclose that the representative's band, Yopali, has played a number of street dances for Silver City Street?
If you care to do so,
Okay.
yes. Okay. Could we please have anyone who wishes to testify in this matter come forward and be sworn in?
Raise your right hand. I state
I,
your name.
Russell Coates,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
the testimony I am about to present
the testimony I am about to present
is the truth,
is the
the
truth,
whole truth,
the whole truth,
under penalty of perjury.
under penalty of perjury.
Thank you. I forgot to mention that this commission is serving as the hearing board, and I, as chairperson, will be the presiding officer, and that this case involves an application for zoning change. Okay, could we please have the staff report? Mr. Coates?
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chair. Like you've already stated, this is a map amendment zone change request, CZ 1107 for 503 Spring Street. and it is a request to change from commercial to historic downtown commercial. Historic downtown commercial is one of those new districts that we formed with the 2010 Land Use Code, and the property is one that is problematic in several ways. The single property itself at 503 Spring Street is cut between the commercial district and the residential district currently. 4 of the lots of the parcel are in the commercial, 4 are in the residential. That in itself posed some questions for us when we first got the application. Mr. Ciano presented the application and said he'd like it to go residential, and we looked at it, and our map at that point, our zoning map, was a little bit off due to how the county parcel maps and our zoning maps were made of 2 different types of mapping software, and so the layers didn't quite line up, and it looked as though there were 6 parcels or 6 lots within the parcel that were commercial and 2 that were in residential. So we were thinking, and it looked like that line went all the way across, but not in the middle of the block, but through 3/4 of the block. So we had to work with our mapping department, and he went back into the files and realized that our map was a little bit off. So rather than presenting that it was preferable to do the whole thing as downtown historic commercial, we thought it might be better just to do the half that is currently commercial and leave the other residential, and Mr. Ciano said that would be acceptable because the intent was to make the whole thing residential, or at least have a residential use. The historic downtown commercial district is intended to accommodate a mix of commercial uses serving residents and visitors, mixed-use buildings and residential buildings in the historic central business core, and to provide a variety of building sizes compatible with the character of the Silver City Historic District. The district encourages a high level of vitality through diverse activities conveniently accessible to pedestrians. This is the issue that I wanted to point out, why, especially in the Chihuahua Hill area, it's going to be difficult to determine where the downtown or historic downtown commercial district line actually should be. Each one of these basic colors are different parcels. This parcel that's green, that goes kind of around that red parcel, as you can see, it cuts through, the zoning line cuts through that parcel. This parcel is all just in commercial. This parcel that's green has a little bit in the residential, most of which is in the commercial. This parcel is all in the residential, but at one time, before we realized our map was wrong, it looked like half of this parcel was in commercial and half was in the residential. This is our subject property, half and half. This property here, it's hard, I'm going to, if I may, this property, just one little lot is in your residential area. The rest is commercial. Same here. This property here is cut in half. This property, there's about 1/4 of it that's in the residential. This property is cut in half. This property has some of both. So what I'm trying to point out is to draw a boundary line between the commercial or the historic downtown commercial and the residential could become problematic. We talked with a couple of the neighbors. We sought them out when we thought that the map was cutting across their property to see what they would think. And they asked what the implications would be. One property owner said that he thought the flexibility would be a positive impact on his property if his entire property were made the commercial downtown historic commercial district. Others thought that having a boundary line along Bremen Street might not be a bad idea, but they weren't sure because they weren't clear on what that would do with their own property. One person said that a problem might be just having spot zoning rather than neighborhood zoning. Neighborhood zoning, in that person's mind, seemed to be a better way of doing it rather than the spot zoning that we're going through. We all agree with that. So I wanted to point that out as one of the issues that we're having to deal with in this particular property, because it is cut in half by the current zoning, brought that very clearly into focus for us. It was a surprise, I guess, in a sense, at least for me, to realize how many properties would be affected if we went straight down the middle of the block rather than on a street. So those are issues that we are going to have to deal with throughout that whole zoning issue, especially in that area. This is a picture of the front part of the subject property. It's you can see looks like a totally residential property, and on one side on the right-hand side of the picture, there is the neighboring property, and it is 4 or 5 apartments in one building. This is Spring Street, looking west from Baird, and the Baird is the corner that the property is on. Let's see. Here's the subject property here. You can see there are residences, and this up here is the spa, the Cienega Spa property, and up above that is the Midika's optometry office. So it's really a mixed use. Here's the side of the property on Baird Street. That would be the eastern side of the property, and there's the backyard of the property, and you can see that the property or the zoning line would run right about here. So the residential part is in the commercial, the vacant part is in the residential. This is the Baird Street looking south, and looking north. You can see that it is mainly residential. This is looking, the backside of the property is this white fence, and these are mainly residential properties along Bremen Street. That's the property, the large building there is the next door neighbor on Spring Street to the subject property. And that's Cooper Street looking north. And this is the property line on the west side of the subject property, and the right-hand side is the garage parking area of the apartment building next door. The findings required, would you like me to read them for the record, or are you happy not hearing them again?
Having just heard them before,
okay.
I think we could let that go.
And it's the staff opinion, the same staff opinion we had for the other property that we heard about tonight, is that findings 1, 2, 4, and 7 could be found to be in compliance with a map amendment change.
Mr. Coates, could you flip back to that map, the very colorful one with all the different zones shown? I would very much like you to retain that map, because I've never seen a better argument for what we want to say to the town council about the need to deal with this issue. That is like a terrific example of the urgency.
And one of the issues that Peter has brought more clearly to my mind is differences in the planning world of, do you have a zone change in the middle of the block, so that one street is one zone and the next street is the other? Or do you run it down a street so you don't have these kind of issues, but then you have one side of the street being a zone and the other side of the street another zone? So if there's some weightiness to both of those sides of that coin, and coming to grips with it is going to be difficult, especially in an area where so much of the property is going to be cut by the zone lines.
But it seems to me that's the whole reason that the new land use code created this new type of district, because it's inherently flexible and reflects the reality that these historic neighborhoods have always been a mix of commercial and residential, and that's part of their charm. And so to have this downtown historic district mixed use category, I think, is a great tool, a great new tool to solve some of those dilemmas. Do any other commissioners have questions for Mr. Coates?
So our position here is that it's weird to have the parcel split in half, but it's less weird to have it split between the old zone designations and the new ones.
Our position right now is that there are properties that are split in half. There's no real, unless Peter wants to.
That's not a position, that's a statement of fact.
That's a statement of fact. I mean, I don't personally have a position on it right now because talking with a few of the neighbors there, it was not a clear issue for them as well.
But as I understand the argument for doing it as you've recommended, it's the best interim solution because the likelihood is that that whole neighborhood is going to have the new category, which we would be applying to that one half.
Right.
So it's the best interim solution until that change can be made for the whole neighborhood.
And prior to us realizing that the map was a little off, it didn't look like the best interim solution. But once we realized that the map is cutting the block in half rather than down towards the street, that was a confusing issue for us all. And we were glad that our mapper discovered and realized how to correct it ministerially.
Great. Thank you. Would the applicant's representative please come forward and testify? Mr. Ciano, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Sorry it caused so much confusion in all of this. But I have to reiterate what Mrs. Gray said. The issues at hand. Being a real estate agent and obviously trying to get this house sold for my client, we've run into issues already where someone who had put in an offer on it and brought it to their bank, and the bank said it's in a commercial zone, which would gladly give you a commercial loan on it, which was significantly higher interest rate, significantly higher in a down payment, and a short term on an amortization than a residential loan. You know, in looking at the property, I'm very well familiar with that area, owning property just a block or two away. You know, there's actually very little commercial activity in that general area. And it just made sense for it, being the fact that, from what I understand, that house was built in the 50s as a residence for one of the mayors of Silver City. So it just made perfect sense to do this for a number of reasons. And the same thing as Mrs. Gray said, should something happen to that house. And another consideration of mine, being the fact that it is vacant. My client bought it as a retirement property with the intent to rent it for a few years and then move here, but because of personal circumstances, that's not going to be possible. If it was to stay commercial, and there's no doubt in my mind that it would sell because it's such a unique house, but it's going to take longer. And the longer it stays vacant, the more things can happen to it and fall in disrepair and just not be an advantage for that neighborhood. So that's why we were doing all this.
And were you informed of your obligation to include in your testimony evidence that relates to the findings we must make? And which findings do you
And
feel?
I would have to go along with the same thing, item number 2, that the proposed amendment would not have any adverse implication on the goals of the, in fact, I would like to think they would improve those goals.
Thank you. Do commissioners have questions for the applicant's representative? Anyone? Okay, I guess you can
Thank
be
you. I just
seated.
have a question for Commissioner Seibels. When are we going to play again?
We gotta make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, discussion, commissioners?
All the same things I said last time.
Ditto, ditto, ditto. Okay,
I would like to support your comment about retaining that one map to take to the city council. It's a, picture speaks 1,000 words, and just showing that map's going to tell a big story.
I totally agree. Okay, in that case, could we have a motion, please, that includes at least finding number 2?
I'll move that we approve the request for a map amendment zone change for attractive land addressed at 503 Spring Street, which is currently in 2 zoning, and so that the part of the property that is in the commercial district move to historic downtown commercial district zoning. And I will include finding 2. The proposed amendment will not adversely affect implementation of the goals and policies of the town's comprehensive plan. Obviously, I agree with the city about the 1, 4, and 7 also, but we only need to have the 1.
I'll second that motion. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries, and we will be passing our recommendation on to the town council. Thank you very much. The next order of business is new business, and new business includes a notice of our intent to repeal the entire bylaws and rules of procedure of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the town of Silver City. And the reason for putting this on the agenda this month as a notification, and with our intent to do it next month, is because all of the procedures under which this commission operates are well detailed in the Land Use Code, which was adopted last year. They also are, our procedures are governed by other town ordinance and law, and therefore the bylaws and procedures are totally duplication and just putting another bureaucratic layer in there. So the town's attorney has advised us that it would be cleaner for us to just do away with those bylaws and operate under the rules laid down for this commission in the Land Use Code. Staff, do you have anything to add to that explanation? Then we will expect to see that on the agenda for next month, and any citizen wishing to come and be heard on that matter would be welcome to attend our next meeting. The next item under new business is the announcement of vacancies on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Commissioner Lundy.
My term expires July 31st, and I have sent a letter to the mayor telling him that I'm resigning my position effective that date.
Thank you. And I also have sent the mayor my letter of resignation, which will be effective in May. May will be my last meeting as chairperson. So I would like staff to please schedule an election for chairperson for the May meeting. Unfortunately, I'm planning to leave this community, which I love very much, and embark on a new adventure elsewhere. So I will be resigning as of May. That's going to leave us a little short-handed. So I appeal to the public who may be watching us on TV. Please come forward and give your name to the mayor. This is a wonderful way to serve your community. You'll really be helping out your neighbors, helping to maintain a good sense of community. I've seen in my years on the commission a lot of instances where this commission was instrumental in helping to lessen neighborhood tensions, to really build community through the decisions that they've made. And it's a great way to serve and doesn't require too much of you. So please come forward and participate. We need more commissioners.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'll have to say nice things about you both when you leave, so I won't start now. Although I have to say that I'm sort of brokenhearted that both of you are leaving. But I'll add to what you said that I think that this commission under your leadership has sort of pointed us in some exciting new directions, and there's some things in terms of proactive planning going forward that I think that you've certainly foreseen, and I hope will continue along that path. And I think it would be an exciting time for anyone to be able to serve on this commission. And so I'll echo your urging folks to apply, because it really isn't as painful as maybe we make it look sometimes. So.
Well, I certainly echo your hope that the little bit of proactive stuff that we have begun to do with our community forums and exploring important community issues and hopefully bringing people together to discuss them, I think it has had an impact. I think we've only barely scratched the surface of what is the potential of this commission to play that kind of role in the community. And to that end, I would say, when are we going to have our community forum on the Alabama Street issue? I think we were waiting for something to happen so we could talk about that.
I was going to report that in the staff report. We did meet with the New Mexico DOT last week out on site, and they have agreed to survey their right-of-way along through there, and so that we'll have more and better information about what the line of sight problem is for that right-hand turn. And after that, we'll be able to move forward in other discussions with them. In the meantime, we are hoping that the community in that neighborhood, or anybody that uses that intersection, will send in their comments to us. We're still accepting comments about how they perceive the issues around that neighborhood as far as traffic goes. So,
and how soon do you think we could put that issue on the agenda for a community forum topic?
We don't know how soon we're going to have a survey or any more information from DOT yet. I'm sorry that we aren't able to push them forward any faster than they are. I can't promise you anything else. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Sure.
Madam Chair, I also was at a meeting where representatives from the Department of Transportation had come to Silver City to talk about issues in general, with representatives from the town, from the county. This was an issue that I raised at that meeting. They did commit to having someone come and look at the situation, and to out of that meeting emerged this survey, potential removal of obstructions, possibly moving a power pole, reducing some of the vegetative obstructions, possibly creating a no parking area where people can't park so that it obstructs view. We indicated we thought that was an excellent start, but we thought there was more required. And the clear message from them was, well, we would like to go through this step by step. And so it's our intent to work with them constructively to move this forward, but to also express our concerns and desire for a larger, more comprehensive focus. And so we will keep you posted.
Okay.
It's clear, though, that they want to go step by step, and this first step is the survey.
Well, it occurs to me that it might be useful to have our community forum and get some citizen input from neighbors and others in the community who frequently use that intersection, so that we could present them with some testimony the next time they come to town and say, look, here's what our citizens have been talking about.
And Madam Chair?
Yes.
Along those lines, I mean, I know the most immediate safety issues revolve around the sight lines and that particular intersection. I know that there are larger neighborhood issues, particularly dealing with traffic calming along that Alabama corridor, and I would hope that whatever we do going forward, we won't just address the immediate safety concern, but also some of the livability concerns surrounding Alabama Street, right?
Madam Chair, that's also, we've talked about this with the Director of Public Works, and we would like to see that broader scope applied.
Yeah, I have some real concerns about the development of that whole Cottage Sand corridor there. It's only going to increase the problems that we're experiencing now on that portion of Alabama, and I think it would be good to schedule that community forum in the near future. What do the other commissioners feel about it?
Sooner better than later.
Good. So suggest a month.
Next month.
All right. Does anyone have any objection to that?
Let me look really fast just to make sure. Yeah, I can't think of any reason why it wouldn't work for me.
So, would staff...
We don't have much time left, Alice. We got to
Yes,
get
we got to get our George. Okay, would staff be amenable then to making some kind of public announcement along with the notification of this meeting that a community forum on the issue of traffic and congestion in the Alabama Street corridor, present and future, will be our topic of discussion, and then we welcome community members to come and let us hear from them about their concerns.
And what means can we use to communicate this to our general public in town?
Well, let me ask first, Madam Chair, if I may, do you mean the forum during the regular Planning and Zoning Commission
I
meeting?
do.
Yes, okay.
Do we have a heavy agenda for next month, do you know?
There's no agenda for next month.
Well, all the better. Let's devote the whole meeting to the community forum. And if we have, it's too late now for anyone to come forward with
Yes,
a
ma'am.
new... Okay, so let's do that. We'll meet on the issue of Alabama Street and hope that people from the community will come forward.
So, Madam Chair, in response to Commissioner Lundy's inquiry, we will consider what options there are available, but certainly sending a letter to the people in the area seems like
That's a great
feasible,
idea. Wonderful.
And Madam
means.
Chair?
Yes.
I know we've had issues in the past with letters being mailed to property owners not necessarily reaching the people that live in the homes. So if we have a flyer or something like that, I'd be happy to volunteer to go pass those out a couple of evenings sometime between now and then.
How about the department issuing a press release so that it could go into any community calendars in the
Sure.
local papers?
Yes, ma'am. And we'll be sure to call on Commissioner Seibel.
Great.
I've walked that neighborhood a lot. May as well do it again.
Thank you.
And any other ideas that commissioners think of between now and, let's say, 2 weeks before the next meeting, we'd be happy to try and accommodate.
Right. Maybe we can have some email conversation about how we would structure the meeting and topics. We list the topics that we really want to be sure we touch on in our discussion.
I think we want to be prepared with something
Yeah.
to guide it, because otherwise the discussion won't go in the right direction or at all.
Right. I wonder if it would be possible to, and I don't even know how to handle this, but in this town, because it's what we've historically done, when you start talking about traffic calming, it goes to stop signs and speed bumps, because that's what we do, what we've always done. And I know that there are other avenues out there that might be more expensive in terms of infrastructure costs, but which also might be better solutions to the Alabama Street problems. I wonder, and I don't even know how this would work, how we might have some resources about what those sorts of things could be.
Are
Madam-
you aware of them yourself?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Well, could you make a little presentation at the meeting on
well,
it?
unless the staff has a better idea.
Madam Chair, the staff has some concerns that it's important to elicit problems, but to try and engage in such a meeting in solutions leads typically to disappointment, because ideas are brought forward that perhaps an expert might say, well, this really doesn't work for this reason or that, and then the people who presented the idea feel like, gee, they asked me for my ideas and they didn't pay any attention to me. So I think this can build, but I think in terms of the initial meeting, it would be much more productive to try and identify the range of problems and then present those to both the Public Works Department and the County Road Department and the DOT. But if we bring solutions forward with them, there will undoubtedly be disappointments.
I think that's a point well taken.
Madam Chair, I strongly support that. I've spent 12 years facilitating and managing meetings, and too frequently we jump to solutions before we identify the problem. So our initial meeting, I agree. What's the problem? Let's find out what the problem is, because we all have a personal perspective of what the problem is, but there's only so many of us here, and there's a whole world of people out there who are living with it on a daily basis. And those are the people we need to get in here and say, this is what I'm living with, and hearing it from their hearts.
Would staff be able to at least present on that previous traffic study, some of which we heard in testimony in the case we heard last month?
Madam Chair, yes.
That would be great. Okay, let's do that. Let's limit it to public input. So we're really depending on people who have an interest in this issue to show up and tell us, because we're ready to listen.
I just want to quickly go back when we were talking about the vacancies and make a couple comments that people may not be aware of. First, you don't have to have a degree in planning and zoning to apply. When you look at planning and zoning boards, I was just looking at a pamphlet tonight that you showed me that showed one that had 15 people, and they were farmers, and they were business owners, and they were professors, and you want all aspects of society. So a person shouldn't feel like they should not apply because they don't have that direct background. And then, but the one thing they do, I believe, have to do is be a Silver City resident, right? Correct?
Yes.
You can't be just in the county. So I just wanted to kind of qualify that so people wouldn't, maybe people think about it and don't realize that they would be very, very welcome to apply.
Thank you. Okay, well, we've kind of jumped around a bit. We don't have a community forum for tonight. Do we have any further reports from staff? Yes, Mr. Coates.
I know that you have all met our replacement for Luann Mitchell, but I'd like the public to...
Oh, there is no replacement for Luann. Please introduce her another way.
Okay. Our new planner in the office, because Luann had retired, is Jamie Redding, and we're awfully glad to have her, and she's familiar with the process quite a bit already because she was in code enforcement prior to moving upstairs to planning.
Excellent. Gina, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself? We're very happy to have you on board.
Well, I'm a lifetime resident of Silver City, which I think gives me a little bit of understanding about the issues that we face, like you were saying, the historic neighborhoods, and I have an interest in being a part of the decisions that help the community to move forward. So I'm pretty excited in my new position.
Well, welcome, and we're delighted to have you. You're joining an outstanding professional staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any reports from the commission?
Yes.
Mr. Lundy.
I would like to reiterate previous comments concerning the upcoming vacancies on the board. And I'm talking directly to our public and the citizens of the town of Silver City. It's a firm belief of mine that you only get out of something what you're willing to put into it. I've had the pleasure and honor to work with the community development staff here for almost 3.5 years. We spent an eternity working on the land use plan revision, and now I will have served on the Planning and Zoning Commission for 2 years. in order to find out really what Silver City is all about, you need to get involved. You need to be a part of the town by making an effort to contribute your knowledge, skills, and abilities to the betterment of the town. And you can't do that at home thinking about it or complaining to neighbors or writing letters to the editor. You need to get in there and get your hands dirty and get involved in the machinations of the growth of this wonderful town and find out, you really do find out what a great town it is when you get involved in helping make the town better, rather than sitting back and thinking about making it better or complaining about things of it. Get involved. It's been a wonderful experience for me. I have other priorities in my life at this age in my life that I'm moving on to that are very important to me, and will also enormously benefit this town. But it's more in the private sector than it is the public limelight. But it will be of enormous benefit to this town, I believe. So my message is to get involved. You'll be glad of it, and you will have the opportunity to work with a highly skilled and professional community development staff that that in and of itself will make you feel good to know that we have that degree of competency helping us make the town of Silver City a great place to live and be.
Thank you. Okay. I also had something I wanted to say. I wanted to commend Mr. Coates on his very well-written and well-researched staff reports.
Thank you.
Well done, Jim. Do we have any community input? No?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Before we go, I want to remind folks that our next meeting is on March the 6th, where we'll be discussing the Alabama Street issue, but it will also be election day for the town of Silver City.
And my birthday.
And your birthday.
Hey.
Wow, well, there you go. So come have some cake with us for Alice's birthday and talk about Alabama Street, but also remember to go out and vote between 7 and 7, or vote early now at Town Hall. That's available every day, pretty much from now until election week. So hope folks will get out there. There's a couple of contested elections, so it's important if you're in the town to have some input into the way our town is run over the next 2 years. And I think there are some real choices to make this year.
We might also mention that with this rush of people who are going to step forward to become a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, how do they go about doing that?
They can write a letter, Madam Chair.
Please.
Applicants who are interested in submitting for the position may write a letter to the mayor and give it to the town clerk, who works at the principal town office on Bullard and Broadway. And if they want to know what such a letter should look like, they can contact her, and she will help them, find the appropriate form for the letter.
I think she also has applications
Yes.
that you can fill out and submit.
Yes.
You know, one of the interesting things about this particular job is that in some communities, people would pay quite a bit of money to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission. In fact, they do pay quite a bit of money to get on the commission. And there are never vacancies.
Very true.
And we are very fortunate that that is not the case in our town, and that we really have citizen volunteers who have nothing financially to gain from their service, and that we have an honest community. But it's up to our citizens to see it stays that way, so it's another good reason to volunteer.
Madam Chair, one other question. I'm just thinking about this Alabama Street meeting next week. I mean, I guess it'll be here, because this is where our meetings always are. But since that's the only thing we're dealing with, I don't know, would it be beneficial to have it someplace closer to the neighborhood? Do you think that would affect participation?
I think that you will capture the entire thing on CATS if you have it
I
here.
think that's more
And I
important.
think that that's
Yeah.
a valuable record.
But I would like to get out from behind this ministerial box and come down and have all the chairs in kind of like a circle so we can really talk about this.
In sort of a work
Yeah,
session
a
format.
work session. Thank you. Okay,
Move we adjourn.
wonderful. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. There, the meeting is adjourned.